Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing my September wrap-up, and I actually have a TBR for this month. Crazy, I know, but fall just makes me do crazy things. Next, I read Binding 13 and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh and Son. So good. It was so good. Mark my words, it will happen this month. It will happen this month. And if it doesn't, I will have my brother slap me in the face, okay? But we're back into my monthly average. This month I read 11 books. It's not like the best average-wise of books that I've read every month, but they were fun nonetheless. The first book I read was The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I gave this one a 3.75. I loved Jameson and Avery's storyline. I just didn't care about Grayson's storyline half the time in the book. I was just like, okay, Grayson. And then they left his storyline basically off on a cliffhanger. Jameson and Avery's storyline was like pretty set in stone. Like they just had like, they went on like a mission basically. And then Grayson was on a mission, but Jameson and Avery, they were just so cute. Like you really got like little snippets of their relationship, and I did really like it. So it leads off of the third book, the Final Gambit. And so Avery's like a philanthropist. She's going around towns and like countries and stuff like that. And then Jameson gets a call from his dad, I think. He gets a call from his dad, and then they meet up, and then that leads into his storyline and his mission and all that stuff. I think his mission, like I said, I liked his storyline the best. I think the mission was like really fun. It was like a bunch of different puzzles, but I don't think it was as like elaborately thought out as the original trilogy of the Hawthorne legacy and all that like stuff like that. Grayson's storyline was basically getting in touch with his family, so it was a bunch of family drama. The second book I read Fireborn by Rosaria Munda, which it's like an institute and then they're dragon riders. So basically like a Fourth Wing adjacent, but this one came out in like 2018, 2017, but it has like the same like politics as Red Rising. So there's different medals and different groups and stuff like that. We follow our main characters, Lee and Annie. Lee and Annie, they're both orphans. Lee's family was like the elite dragon riders, and they were like the dragonborn, as like everyone would say, and then they got overthrown by a revolution, and then his family was all slaughtered, blah 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 blah, and then the new regime took over, and then they instituted the medals program, and so you'd have to take a test, and then you get filed into one of the medals, like bronze, iron, silver, and gold. And so because his family was slaughtered, Lee's family was slaughtered, he got put into an orphanage, and that's where he met Annie. So, and then they like both took the medals test, and then they got into like the Guardians. I think that's what it's called, or like, I think it's the Guardians, and it's like a different level. It's like a sub level of like gold, so they're like really high elite, and then they learn how to ride dragons. And then Lee's old like family, the Dragonborn, like some of them are alive, and they're out to get the new regime. I gave Fireborn 4.25 stars. I really liked it. And like the politics were like so like fun. In the first book, you get more of Lee, and it's more like Lee based. It's more of a Lee centric book. And then Annie's just like on the side, and it's just like you don't get much of her personality, and it's just like she exists as like an extension of Lee. But in the second book, that really changes, and she really comes to her own and like finds her voice and like her political power and stuff like that. The second book, Flamefall, I gave 3.5. It was just it was longer than the first book, and it was just very boring. It was very dense because there was nothing happening except for like Annie's going off on this like quest basically, and she's like going and meeting off with like a spy basically. So yeah, I can't really say anything about the second book, but I didn't like it as much as the first book, and then that that led me to not read the third book. So I still haven't finished the series. I have the third book left to read. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but yeah. The next book I read was actually a reread. So I reread Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I remember loving Dance of Thieves when it first came out. I read it because of Haley Pham, and she read it in like one of her like 24-hour challenges or something like that, or like, and I loved it, but like I also just don't remember because I read it last year. I just have a bad memory. Like I remember devouring the first and second book in like one sitting, which is like actually crazy because they're 500-page plus books. But yeah, I devoured them, and I just didn't remember any of the plots, but I remember I loved the romance in this. I think the plot was really good. Basically, like Cassie is the queen's like guard, and so her and her friends travel over to Hell's Mouth, I think. Found out that like Jace's family, not like a kingdom, but like they're perceived as like the first family to like reign power in this like area in their like country, basically. In this whole area, like they're the first people to like gain land and like live after this big event, because I think this after the Remnant Chronicles. I never read the Remnant Chronicles, but I think that's what happens. They think that Jace's family, because they're not like sovereign leaders, they're like, they just like say that they're leaders, but they don't have like actually political power in between all the other kingdoms. So Cassie and her crew are going over there because they think that Jace's family is like up to trouble. So they go over there, and then it's a big enemies to lovers romance. And then Jace is like, oh, I kind of like Cassie. And Cassie's like, oh my god, it's who the hell, like, I don't care. But the romance and this, like, quotes of the romance are so cute in here. They love each other. They love each other, and it's so cute. I loved it. 5 stars again. So, next I read Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second book of the Red Rising series. I wasn't obsessed with Red Rising, but I thought it was a really good like book. I got kind of lost in the middle of it because it was like after the trials. I was like, okay, I'm a little confused, but like the first bit of it, or like the first bit of it where Darrow like turns into what he is now, I really followed it and I really liked it. But then towards the middle, I told you I got lost, so I just didn't like want to immediately pick up Golden Sun. Golden Sun, so good. It was so good. I love the way Pierce Brown writes about Darrow and how Darrow reflects on the people who he loves. There was a bunch of plot twists. Amazing, amazing. Read this, read it. I gave this a 4.5 because it was like, I don't know, like it was really good, and maybe I'm like downplaying how much I loved it, but 4.5, 4.75, not a 5 yet, but I really liked it and I immediately bought the next one. Next I read How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I gave this one a 4 stars. It follows Margaret, and she gets into this plane accident, and then it follows her recovery after the accident. And yeah, it's like a woman's fiction book. I think that's what it is. But it was like, the romance was really cute in it, and I did like it. I wasn't as obsessed as Haley Pham was, but like I really enjoyed it. Next I read The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. I gave this one a 4 stars too. This one is You've Got Mail like revamp, basically. Okay, Hart is like, he works for the government of their like fantasy world. He works for the government. He goes and slays like these monsters that inhabit dead bodies, and like their souls take over the dead bodies and blah 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 blah. And then Mercy, she's like, she works in like a corner office basically, because her family like is one of the big like funeral services basically for that town. So it's them, and they're in contention with another major company that's like monopolizing the funeral service basically. He gives the dead bodies to wherever like the dead body's supposed to be. And so he runs into Mercy a bunch, and they have little cute nicknames because they don't hit it off. And Mercy thinks he's like an asshole, and then he thinks she's like really rude and stuff like that. So she calls him Heartless, and he calls her Merciless. But their romance was so cute. I think in the plot of the book didn't care, especially at the end when it was just like, I wanted just to see them happy and together. There was like this big plot point, and like probably to move the story forward, I was so checked out. I was like, I just want to see them. Like, next I read Binding 13 and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. Binding 13, I gave it a 2.5, and then Keeping 13 I gave 1.25 stars. Watch my like reading vlog on this. It was actually painful. The first one, it was just like every Wattpad character brought to life, basically. It really just commented on how like small she was and how big Johnny was, and like it was just like, It was very like, it's an emotional book because it really it deals with like very triggering topics like abuse, bullying, and then like family abuse and all that. It was just like a very heavy book, but I didn't think the writing was good, so it didn't make the book, you know what I mean? The characters were okay, but I don't feel like they really developed at all. And like Johnny and Shannon, there was 600 pages of the first book where they were like, oh my god, they just kept on, like, they just never would communicate, and she would physically run away from him, and he'd be like, oh, I can't have her, blah blah blah, and then like be so obsessed with her to the point like, if you don't like, you know that you're not good for her, leave her alone. But like, he was so in love with her, but like, yeah, there was like no basis of the love to me. The way like some of the, especially the boy characters, described like the like other female characters, I was like, this is vile. This is vile. I just don't care, and I don't want to care, and I don't like, it was just so like, oh my god, a 13-year-old boy like wrote this and was like writing his dialogue basically himself. Keeping 13 though, I thought it was very repetitive, and it was like after like a big event ended the first book, and it was like for the first like, I would say 40 like percent of the book, it was just like the same thing over and over and over again. And then this one was like a lot more sexual based because like Johnny and Shannon finally are together and stuff like that. It's like about to not finish it, but I was like, I have to push through, and I was just waiting for it to end. And because of that, I don't know if I'm gonna read the other ones. I want to know what happens to Joey, but like I can't bring myself to read the next 2 massive books. So yeah. Oh, did I even tell you what it's about? I think everyone knows. Basically Shannon was really bullied in her old school, so she is now going to this like, I think it's like a private school. It's not like private school, but it's like a different type of school, and you have to actually pay money for it, and they wear uniforms, but I don't know if they like ever said it was a private school. She now goes to Tomlin College. Don't get college mixed up. It's like the end of, it's like high school for over in the UK, but Shannon's 15. So, and Shannon's 15, and then Johnny's 17, about to turn 18. Shannon's 15, about to turn 16. So there's the timeline, basically. Next, I read A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is like Harry Potter, like coded, but like way more like dark, I would say. This one I gave a 3.5. It was like, this book, so short, 312 pages. I felt like this went on forever. I was so tired. I was like, oh my god, I would read like 50 pages and I'm like, that really like tired me out. I read 50 fucking pages, and normally that's not like anything to me, but like that was crazy. It follows our main character Elle, and it's all in Elle's POV, and so she's mostly like kind of a loner in this school. A lot of people think she's like a big bitch, so like they just don't like want to be friends with her. And then it's like a school of like, it's like an international school, like everyone goes here. In the school there's like different cliques, so there's different enclaves and like different parts of the world. Like there's a New York one, a London one, and all that. Like there's a Shanghai one, a bunch of like different enclaves. And like basically after graduation, you really like, you commit to an enclave, and then you like go there and live out your life, I think, after graduation. But the school is out to get people. There's no teachers or anything like that, so all the assignments are given by the school, and the school has a bunch of different like monsters hunting people and stuff like that. So like the chance that you like actually make it to graduation and graduate, very slim. So I think like the graduating class in this book was like 6 people, and then yeah, it's crazy. It follows Orion and Elle. Elle does not like Orion, but Orion is like the golden boy of the school. He like saves everybody from the monsters, and like he's like, that's his job basically. Like he makes it out to be his job. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna save people. And Elle has been saved by Orion like for like a bunch of different times, and they just don't really get along because she's like, oh, I don't want it, like I don't need to be saved. Elle meets a bunch of people, like she's known these people, but like she really like has a relationship with a bunch of different people now. And at the end, it was like, because in the beginning she was like so lonely, and then at the end she's really blunt, and I like her sense of humor. She's like, oh, I want to like cry. Like she's such an emotional person. She's like, I'm gonna cry because I have a bunch of people that like care about me now. And it's so cute to me. I love Elle. I am gonna read the second book, don't know when, but I really liked this book. It was okay, but it was like a little slow in some bits, but I really like the characters themselves. This actually ended on a big like a big shock factor value. It wasn't a cliffhanger, but it was like, oh my god, why, like crazy. The last book I read, I finished today. I read Maybe Meant to Be by Kale Walther. I did not like it as much as her other books. Kale Walther's first two books, I love Summer Broken Rules, and then I liked What Happens After Midnight. I know that the book Maybe Meant to Be, it's like a revamp of her first book, like Maybe One of Us or something like that, or If One of Us, something like that. And because she got signed to a publisher, her publisher is like she revamped the covers, redid the title, but it has very fall-like vibes, and so that was like what I was expecting going into the book. And this book, it follows four characters. It follows best friends Sage and Charlie, and then Charlie has a twin, Nick, and then a new kid that comes to the boarding school, Bexley Academy, Luke. So it follows them. Everyone in the school thinks Charlie and Sage are like meant to be together, and then because they've been friends since like childhood and stuff like that, and everyone's like, oh my god, Charlie's like a player, but like when is he just gonna get with Sage? And so everyone in the school is rooting for Charlie and Sage, and that's what everyone thinks, that they like each other. Like it's just like automatically, and one day they're gonna end up together. Luke comes in. Charlie spends a lot of time with Luke, and then Charlie realizes that he really likes Luke. Also, Sage and Nick really hit it off, and so it just follows that dynamic. And yeah, I would say the first 50% of the book, it was really focused on Charlie and Luke's relationship, and then you got snippets of Sage and Nick's relationship, but I was like, I just didn't care, and I just only cared about Charlie and Luke. And then the second half of the book, it was very focused on Sage and Nick's relationship, and I really like started to root for them. And then it like really fell off about Charlie and Luke's relationship, and I was like, I don't care. But it really follows Charlie about like him like coming out to his brother, his parents, and then like the rest of the school. I gave this one a 3 stars. It was just very boring, and I think the writing wasn't as good as her other books, and maybe it's because her first book and like probably her debut novel, but like I don't know, it just wasn't as like this, it didn't hit the same, and it felt like more like cut and dry writing, and it was just like this happened and then this happened, and that's the end of my wrap up. So we're all here for my September TBR. I never really make TBRs because I never really stick to them. So the first book I want to read in October is If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. I love this book, so I really want to reread this. I want to annotate it. I really want to get into it again because I loved it when I read it the first time. Next, I want to read The X-Hex by Erin Morgenstern, and it's just like a little like magical realism fantasy romance type of book, and I love romance and I love fantasy, so I hope it really scratches the itch for this like type of book. And a lot of people like it, and a lot of people like are okay with it, so let's see where I fall. Oh, this is The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. This one is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I don't know what I'm expecting. I'm expecting like Caraval vibes, but like with aged up characters and like more like mature topics, I guess. So because it's not as YA as Caraval, so yeah. Next, I also want to finish this the Infernal Devices series. So I just have the second book, Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I saw this on my shelf and I was like, yeah, I do want to read this, so we're hoping to get to this month. I also want to read Assistant to the Villain. This is another like October Halloween type read, and it's just a romance. I think it's just a romance with like a little like magical realism in it, but like mainly romance. I'm in like a romance type of mood. I don't know what it is. Oh, I want to read the second book in the Scholomance series, which is The Graduate. by Naomi Novik. And then, last but not least, I marked my word, it's gonna happen this month. To why I want to read this month, our school has like a fall break thing, so I get to go home for like 5 days, basically. Well, I get to go home Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, and then I can come back for classes on Wednesday. But I get to go home. I get to go home for like 3 to 4 days, right? I can finish this and I can cry my heart's content out. Like, I can just cry and like nothing's gonna happen, and I don't have work that I have to worry about. So we're getting to Magnolia Parks the long way home. I'm terrified. Mark my words, it will happen this month. It will happen this month. And if it doesn't, I will have my brother slap me in the face, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my September wrap up and my October TBR. I had an okay reading month, and I liked the books I read, some of them. Overall, I'm excited for the rest of the year. I'm excited for my fall reads, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.